Welcome everyone to this presentation on abundance and intuition and how to trust your inner guidance. I am so happy that you are here. I have so much to cover, and I will really try to make it in the 30 minutes so that you can use this presentation as a reference. You can go back and forth, listen to it over and over, and really it is engaging you to participate as much as you want out of it, because this is an ongoing journey that we all have of tapping into our abundant, innate, blessing that we all have. We all have access to abundance, and intuition is one of those things that as human beings we have access to it every single moment. So both of these concepts go hand in hand, and my hope is that you really learn to be in this state, or more than that is just remember. It is more of a remembering that this is a state that we can access at every moment. And when we follow our intuition, we're just simply tapping into that field of abundance where everything that we desire already exists. And so that is our inner quest of how to get into the state where everything that we desire is already there, and how to become a magnet so that we are simply aligning to all the things that we desire. The health, the wealth, the relationships, the love, everything. And, I think getting out of our own way and understanding is what my intention is with this presentation, to just soften these perhaps limiting beliefs or these understandings so that we can tap into this state easily and accelerate how we attract those things and become vibrational matches to everything that we desire. And so I'm going to bring in a lot of concepts that I have learned along the way, try to make it, I always like to merge science and spirituality as well. They just go hand in hand. And I think that, a lot of times our brain wants to understand things, but there's our spiritual side that also knows. So merging these two, you'll hear me talk a lot about, the science behind it, and also this other mystical part that we know we inherently have. So please have somewhere to write, just to make it really a personal journey. This is a personal journey. We're all in different stages of our understanding of our journeys. And if we're here, it's because we probably want more out of life, and we're open to new concepts, or to softening the way we see things, so that we can be on our way to creating the life that we truly desire. And it is so exciting, because it never ends. We're never going to get it done. There's always going to be something more that life presents, these challenges that we're okay, now where do I go from here? How do I get, life has caused me to have a desire for, let's say, for more health, or for love, or for financial abundance. How do I go from where I am? Okay, so let's see. Having said that, let's just talk about the obvious. So, what is what is your definition of abundance? And just kind of just bring that to mind. Like, okay, what does my what is my definition of abundance? And just start to ponder with this with this idea. Let me see, I'm going through my presentation here. Okay, here I am. Okay, so what is abundance? So I'd like to for many of us, when we think about abundance, the immediate perhaps thought is more money. But I'd like you to think about, perhaps you already know people that that have lots of material resources, but don't have the ability to enjoy them. You know, that, and I think that is, wow, a big tragedy, you know, to accumulate so many things and money and have all this abundance in a certain area of your life, but don't have that ability to truly enjoy all the resources. So, you know, maybe we can entertain the idea that it is more than that, that it is more of a state of consciousness. How is it that, for example, monks and nuns that live in a monastery, and I'm saying that because I have been in Buddhist monasteries where I see the abundance all over, this abundance of health, of this state of joy, and there's barely any material object there. I mean, nuns and monks and nuns renounce to every material object. That's part of the you know, what they decide to do in this life, and that's why I want to say that it's such a personal you know, journey that we decide to be in. So, you know, we have on one side, you know, people that have all the things, and on the other side, people that don't have anything. So what is abundance? So could we start to entertain this idea that it is more than money, and it could be a state of consciousness where, and also receptivity, and it's not perhaps something that we have, but more something that we tune into, and we're not chasing, because then if we're chasing, then there's lack when there's that chasing. And so I truly, one of my favorite teachers, and I like the way we put it. And please, all of what I say, you take it or leave it. This is your this is your present, you know, your journey, and we come up with our own you know, concepts that work for us. But one of my favorite teachers says that abundance is the ability to do what we need to do when we need to do it, in alignment with our highest good. So it's an ability to, you know, if I need to go somewhere, if I need to have access to my needs, I have the ability to do it. And so let's start kind of weaving in these concepts that go beyond the material things and the having of things, and more into an ability, the access that we have. From Abraham's perspective, which is another very intimate teacher that I've followed for many years, it is that about the feeling of well-being and alignment. That you know, this that is more about, it's more about the energy that we're in, and the feeling of flow and well-being that abounds. So here, let me go to my next here. Okay, my next slide here. I have some other quotes from very known people that that have coined this in a beautiful way. We all might have heard of Wayne Dyer, and he states that abundance is something that, not something we acquire. It's something that we tune into. Dr. Joe Dispenza, who we love so much, he says that we have to become happy before our abundance shows up. So we start seeing here how there's these things about abundance and an inner state, and it's not that chasing, it's something that we tune into. And so you know, happiness here, as Dr. Joe talks about, okay, we start to get that it's all right, there's feelings that come in here that play a big role into abundance. And now we all know Steve Jobs, and he here's a quote from him. And he says that to have the courage to follow your heart and intuition, they somehow already know what truly wants to become, what you truly want to become, what you truly want to become. And there is a wonderful video of him that I really like. If you are curious about, you can search for it. But it's a speech that he gave in a graduation, famous one. But he weaves all of this into, that he had this such a great relationship with his intuition that when he looks back into his life, there was things that he did that he didn't know why he was doing them at the moment. But for example, when he took a calligraphy class, because he didn't even graduate. That's the interesting thing. He didn't even graduate college, but he wanted to take this calligraphy class. And thanks to that, that's where the word, where all the, our word presentations, this is long time ago. Now technology has evolved so much, but the point is that when we look back in our own life and we responded to that intuitive guidance to do something, it didn't quite make sense at the moment, just like him. But then years later, that revolutionized the way we all utilize computers. So there's something here that is very important about fine-tuning to that feeling. Like Dr. Joe said, okay, you follow your, you have to become happy so that abundance finds you. And but there's something here that doesn't make logical sense, that where I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing at the moment. I'm doing it because it makes me happy. And somehow, like Steve Jobs says, that your heart and intuition already knows what you truly want to become. So I'm weaving in these concepts of abundance and intuition and being in the state that is more of having the things, because we know that we know also that it is not about the having of things. It is more about the feeling. So, okay, let's continue on. And next slide here. So what is intuition and how does it relate to abundance? So intuition is that inner guidance that helps us align with our true desires. And when we trust it, it leads us naturally to a life of abundance. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we do that? So if this intuition is so important, how do we tap into it? And so this is where science comes in. Okay, so this graph here is one of my favorite graphs. I brought a few, and I always refer back to this over and over and over again. This is our incoherent state and our coherent state. And this is emotions and heart rhythms. So, our heart is the one that indicates how we are emotionally, how our inner state is. The quality of our heartbeat is if we can see it through a, if we can be measuring our inner state with devices, or somehow where we can see our pulse and we can see what the here an incoherent state is, that top part that is stress. So jagged lines all over the place. There's no rhythm there, and so incoherence really impairs our performance. It literally slows us down. We are in the survival state when we're in stress or we're in incoherence. And this is just a little snapshot. This is I could go on and on talking about just this one graph, but I just want to tie this all into how intuition and abundance go hand in hand, and how we can bridge that gap of getting into a state that allows the flow of abundance. So when we are, we in stress, our heartbeat is beating in an arrhythmic pattern. Our brain doesn't function, and it impairs our brain function. It only allows us. It really, it's very limited to what we can do when we are in stress. Whereas we're in coherence, is that blue graph there. It's our state of optimal performance. And it also builds resilience. When the more we are in the coherent state, it facilitates our brain function. And so here we can go back and forth as well, as neat as I explained this concept. But this other graph, and you may have seen it as well, as I use these so much in presentations, because it all comes back to our inner state. And when we're in alignment and we're out of alignment. And it's a fine line that we're always going in and out of, even in our day. But it is becoming so aware of the way we feel. There's nothing more important than the way we feel, in order to understand that we are either connected to the field of abundance all around us, or we're disconnected from all our resources and all the things that are available to us, just because that's the way we naturally operate. It's a way of our mechanism, our vessel is just built this way. And it is very intelligently built this way in order to survive in the world, in order to operate in the world. But if we are able to self-regulate ourselves and utilize the knowing of what state am I in the moment, because there is an intelligence that is guiding us. We need to be in incoherence at times. Of course, we are going to be scared in a moment's time. Of course, we're going to retract if we, let's say, running out of money, or we were given a diagnosis in health, and we're going to get out of alignment for a moment. So the key is truly that's where resilience is so important, and so important to exercise our ability to self-regulate and move as quickly as we need to from incoherence into coherence, from being disconnected from the field to connected into the field, and to know, okay, when I am disconnected, there's a reason why, and there is intelligence there as well. But when we know that when we are in a happy place, like Dr. Joe says, we got to get happy in order for abundance, to find us. Well, then we can become very aware that, I'm not, I do not wish to stay in the incoherent state too long. I get the message. Let's say we get a diagnosis or something. Oh, okay, interesting information. That's good for me to know. Now I get back into my coherent state, so I know what to do. What is my next step? Where do I desire to navigate my GPS towards? And that's what's beautiful about intuition. That intuition is this higher state which already knows, can see from the mountaintop. There's so many ways to describe this our intuition, where it is like, for example, like our body is in the valley, let's say, with that incoherence, with that fear of being alone, of never finding love. But our higher self, our intuitive guidance, is up from the mountaintop saying, everything you want is over here. The path to your health is over here. But if we get too wrapped up into being in the valley and staying in the valley, we can't see all the opportunities, all the things that have been lined up, so that we can take our next step. So that's why it's so important to learn and to be so fine-tuned to, okay, I get the information. Now what do I do? Well, now I get back into the coherent state. Now I get back into myself. Now I connect back into that inner GPS that which is our intuitive nature. We have this built in, and for some reason, don't ask me why, but I know that women, we have this ability to tune into more quickly. And I know if men are going to watch it, and we all have our male and female, inside of us. But by nature, it may come more naturally to the feminine, and men, as well, Steve Jobs is a man. There's so many, I probably just take that back, but it's the feminine side. It truly is. The heart intuitive guidance is quite that not logical place that needs to figure things out from the head. And that's going back to, trying to figure things out. That is quite of a male quality that we all have. Again, we all have those both. But when we drop into that side, that the intuitive nature, which resides in the heart, and I'll share how that is in our bodies, how the coherent state, how tapping into our intuitive guidance comes from the heart. So then we can soften into this place of this mystical side, this place that sometimes logic does not make sense. And, that's why I love that quote from Steve Jobs, because he relied so much on this state to tap into that next step where it did not, it was not logical. So it is tapping into that higher knowing that that somehow can see from the mountaintop, can see from the higher state. Okay, so this graph shows what our internal system is, what is happening inside of us when we're in coherence or when we're out of alignment, and then how quickly we can shift into alignment. Our breathing, our heart rate, and our blood pressure all are systems that when we get into coherence, which you see in orange, it says the quick coherence, which is a tool that we, in a moment, when I share with you the freeze frame technique, and these are our heart math science protocols that show how to get out of coherence into coherence. So the quick coherence technique is what this person, and this is a snapshot of a person's heart going from being out of coherence into the coherence state with the quick coherence technique. And so you can see how that quality in the heartbeat, everything comes into this beautiful aligned state, just like we saw in the graph before. Jagged versus order. And our internal systems, if we can see all our internal systems, our breathing, our heart rate, our blood pressure, all come into this beautiful synergy and this beautiful, we're operating in our optimal state. There's clarity, we can receive the guidance from the heart. All right, so then we go, I put this graph here just to illustrate again that emotional scale. So when we are in that fear, in that grief, in the apathy, in the guilt, and the shame, we are, and this is from the Hawkins map of consciousness, where there's particular frequencies that we vibrate in. So you can see how it's an emotional scale that we can in one day we can feel all the things. And it again, it goes back to how long are we willing to stay in certain states, and how we can, as you can just see here from this graph, we can move from a lower state to an elevated state. And so in order for us to tap into our intuitive guidance, in order to then tap into the abundance that is already there, we can't get there from guilt or shame. We can't see it. We're disconnected. We're not able. Our bodies really quite don't give us that capacity. Remember, our brain function is inhibited. We're in survival. So the quicker that we can get ourselves into this state where, elevate the emotional scale, we're closer and closer into tapping into being able to see, being able to receive the intuitive guidance. The intuitive guidance cannot come when or it is very difficult unless we're in a really like survival instinct where we have to be running away from something that is chasing us, or that we're then that's when our true survival comes in. But when we have the perception that we are, let's say, about to our health is at risk, it is harder for us to tap into that inner guidance that shows us our next step. All right, so here, okay, it's already 12, it's already half the time. Okay, let's go into our tool. So I'm going to share with you the freeze frame technique, which is one of my favorite techniques from the Heart Math Institute, which gives us that shift, and which allows us to get into the coherent state and then tap into the intelligence of the heart, so then we can know what would be our next best step. So I'd love for you to, pose a question to yourself, and this is your tapping into your intuitive guidance. So is there something that you want clarity on? Is there something, where, tapping or talking about abundance, if that where you feel stuck, where you feel like you don't know what the next step is. So there's 5 steps to this. The first step is to acknowledge what is it that you want guidance on. So take a moment to just jot that down. Again, you can rewind and use this as many times as you'd like to get familiar with the flow of this technique. But the first step is to acknowledge what is the issue at hand, and also what attitudes do you have about it. Like, be sincere about it. Do you feel not hopeful or angry about it, or are you pessimistic about this? So that's step number 1. Okay, and now I'm gonna put a quick little melody so I can get us into the coherent state, and we're gonna do this in a minute. So you can see how quickly you can tap into this state. All right. Okay, so let's just sit comfortable with your back straight. You can gently close your eyes. You can place both hands over your heart, and imagine your breath flowing in and out through your heart. Imagining your breath as it flows in and out through your heart or chest area. Counting to about 5 seconds on the inhale, 5 seconds on the exhale. Finding that comfortable rhythm for you. That is a slow and steady breath. Make a sincere attempt now to activate the feeling of gratitude for someone or something in your life. It could be maybe a loving pet. It could be that feeling of gratitude for nature, the ocean. And from this place, ask yourself, what would be a more efficient or effective attitude, action, or solution to take on this issue that you wrote at the beginning? And as you continue breathing in and out through your heart, simply quietly observe any subtle changes in your perception, in your attitudes or feelings about it. And commit to sustaining this beneficial attitude or acting on any new insights. All right. Those are the quick steps to this freeze frame technique. And what I really always encourage people to do is that to write down any shift, like write it down, because it's sometimes it comes so quickly, so like, and it's so easy. Sometimes the way the heart speaks is so different than the way the brain thinks. And so when we start to distinguish the tone in which those two speak, and we commit to listening with, with this technique, into the way the heart speaks, and knowing and trusting that that is guidance, and not allow the brain to override, because it so often it's the brain that says, can't be that easy, what about this and this and this? So just notice that it often happens that after doing this technique, and we're like, the brain wants its opinion and wants to talk us out of anything that we may have got, because it again, the heart speaks in such a gentle, easy way, and it is often what we already know, and we often say this, I knew it. It was so, and sometimes it's hard decisions that the heart guides us to, but that's where courage comes in as well, to take those steps that our heart gave us, that intuitive guidance, that committing. That's why committing to taking the action is so important, because really we're stepping into the unknown. It's not a predictable past. Intuition is truly opening up the way to our future, to our abundance, to the way things that we don't know. And that's what's so exciting and beautiful, to trust that our heart knows. It can see from the mountaintop. It wants our best. I want to just say this Richard Branson quote, because it speaks to this. And Richard Branson, we might know him as the Virgin from. He's a very known entrepreneur with so much abundance, and he says, "I rely far more on gut instincts than researching huge amounts of statistics." So that's got to say something to us. When someone that has, amassed such, and again, I like, I guess, we all have opinions about people's lives, but he's truly an example of, just like Steve Jobs, just like Dr. Joe, of, hey, there's more to logic. There's more than huge amount of statistics, and we do need that to a certain extent, but there's something more. Okay, so with that said, and just to close the presentation portion, I do want to invite you I do have a course on intuition, and it's an 8-week course. We start on, well, if you're seeing this as a recording, I have the live classes, and I also have the recorded ones. So message me or go into like, okay, when is the next intuitive path course starting up? But for those of you who are here live, I'd like to go into the Q&A, and we can talk about the next one coming up if you'd like. And if you're here live, you can get a great discount, which is, just something that I offer as this is one of my most favorite topics. And so, all right, having said that, thank you so much for those watching the recording. And remember to always come back to the heart and see this presentation as often as you'd like. This is just one of the many tools that I teach, and come and practice with us in the Coherence Meditation Gym. There's so much information here that you can live abundantly and live the life and create the life that you'd like. So thank you so much for watching, and remember to always come back to the heart. And where's my, okay.